Grand rising, beautiful, melanated, original, whatever you respectfully call yourself, people. It's Tina, straight no chaser with the queen. But today is different. Today is micronation time. Do you see this? Today is micronation time. And I know that I didn't advertise more. So if you watch the replay, like and share. Today I am with AP, and AP is also a leader of his micronation. And I don't want to say it wrong, but it's the Empires of Arthenia.
The Empire of Eternia.
Eternia. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Empire of Eternia. And hi, Joseph. And we're going to tell you, I know y'all hear me on my platform keep talking about empires. My sister's cat is harassing me all of a sudden. Every time I come on, the animals keep coming around me, want me to feed them and stuff. Peace and blessings, family. So we're going to, she keep jumping in my lap. Greetings, everyone. We're going to actually get serious because I know y'all know me and straight no chaser with the queen, and I brung AP on, and I'm going to let him help us explain what micronations are, because I think we have different perspectives on what a micronation is. And I want you to all to know, all my people that's out there, I learned about micronations from AP. I watched him on YouTube when he was younger. I think when I first started watching him, he was in an apartment. And he was saying that he was claiming his apartment as private domain. And I'm gonna give the mic to AP, and I want AP to introduce his micronation, and we're gonna, inform y'all on more of what micronations are and things that we can do and how it's gonna benefit us. And so basically, go ahead, AP, say your micronation and lead us away.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first off, I want to thank you very much, Queen Tina, for having me on. Thank you to everybody in ALKEBULAN, everybody watching, for taking the time to hear me out today and to let us hang out and enjoy the time on Straight No Chaser with the
Thank you.
I want to start off by saying, Queen Tina, you brought up a great point. Everybody who is a part of micronationalism, who participates in trying to create a micronation or supporting another one, all have a different idea of what micronationalism is. Ultimately, the basic concept is it is a group of people who are wanting to create their own country, to have their own sovereign nation, independent of other nations. Now, that can be really strictly adhered to. That can be something that people chase, with absolute certainty. They're saying, this is something that I want to develop in my lifetime. This is something that I want to be completely and truly separate and unique, just like any other country in the world. Just like Canada is different from South Africa, is different from China, is different from Brazil. All of these micronations are attempting to do the same thing and get the same sort of recognition that other countries receive. There are certainly some people who don't take it that seriously, and that can be a lot of confusion in micronationalism, where you have these people who are very, very serious, and these people who are doing it more so as a project, maybe a community building exercise, or as a way to raise money for some sort of other larger political purpose that they're trying to raise awareness for. So there are lots of different reasons that people make micronations, but in the strictest definition, in the most direct way possible, it is a group of people trying to create their own country. I hope everything's okay with Queen Tina. I just saw she left. It looks like we're still on, though. I hope everybody's doing well. Sylvia, it's good to see you. I saw somebody else as well in the comments. Micronations are a way for a community of people to create and define a culture for themselves. Whatever the purpose that a group of people come together under, whatever their ideas of how a society should be run and how they want to live their lives develops, you can come together as a community and start to define that, start to create that. Now, that doesn't mean that as soon as you do that, that everybody's going to recognize it, that everybody's going to legitimize that authority that you develop around yourself. but nonetheless, there is a certain impact that making that statement has. If you and a collective of people come together and say, hey, we identify separately than everyone else. We say that we are our own country. We say that we are our own people. This is our culture. This is the way that we would like to be treated. This is the way that we would like to be approached. That is an impactful statement in and of itself. It's good to see you, Quintina.
I know. I'm so glad you were talking because I mean, remember I was telling you I was skeptical, and my line I never did that. It just went completely out, so I had to jump on my phone. That's why
Oh,
it looks
goodness.
different. And so I am so glad you were continuing to talk because I didn't know if I lost you or who.
No, ma'am. I hope everything got through to the stream. It looked like it did, but I wasn't sure.
I think I see everyone still on here. So yes, I still see people on here. And so y'all, I might can't answer or pull your lives up because I'm having technical difficulties in my I want you to show I'm sitting right here in front of my laptop and I don't know what the heck happened. But I'm glad that you is I don't know, I didn't hear everything you said, but I know me and you talk a lot about micronations. And one thing I wanted to say is that tell them about microcon. Oh, now it's
Absolutely.
let me enter the studio. I don't know what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. So, MicroCon is basically a large gathering of different micronations. Um, uh-oh. It sounds like
Yeah,
we have a
you're.
little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on. Hold on. Derek, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, the point of MicroCon basically is for a whole bunch of micronations to get together, to interact with each other, to have a little bit of press coverage. Normally, local news stations around the area will kind of cover the event. But it was started by a guy named Kevin Baugh, who runs the Republic of Molossia. Now, the interesting thing about that is that Kevin Baugh and Molossia are a group which consider themselves their own country. They call themselves their own country, but I would say they are not on the more serious end of things. They have a lot of their own culture wrapped up into it, as far as, they've made it a part of their family, and they've, really connected to giving people in their family titles and connections to all this. And they certainly have a lot of tourism that's brought about
Mm-hmm.
around them because they're quite popular. So they've started this convention and everything. But that is one aspect that shows you kind of the difference between micronationalists, where you have
Mm-hmm.
this guy who isn't necessarily trying to like separate from the United States or become his own truly independent country, one that's recognized as independent by other countries.
Mm-hmm.
But he still is creating this organization and this not even organization, this event for other micronations, people who vary in that spectrum of what they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do. So that being the case, MicroCon is something that has happened, I think, 4 or 5 times thus far over the past like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
This one coming up is 2022 MicroCon. It's in Las Vegas. It's hosted by a country called West Arctica. West Arctica is actually interesting as well. They connect to Molossia and Kevin Baugh, the guy who started MicroCon. And his country is specifically a sort of political activism campaign to raise
Mm-hmm.
awareness about global warming and about Antarctica. So their whole thing is, renewable energy and Antarctica and preserving, like the penguins and everything. And so that's their interest. But there uh, lies this opportunity in MicroCon, I think, to connect with people, one who are more serious about developing nations and becoming independent, and having this platform where everybody can get together. But as well, it also allows kind of for that shared press coverage, where if there are a group of people who are already fairly well known in that community, that you can kind of put yourself in pictures with them, and you can put yourself in their main large scale announcements about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You can quickly be associated, and you can quickly start to reach that same level of public outreach that they are.
Mhm.
But even if you have different goals and methods for doing what you're doing, just being in that sphere of people and kind of intermingling with them allows you
Mhm.
to advertise a lot better. So that's what we hope to do at MicroCon this year. It sounds like, Queen Tina, that's what you all are hoping to bring some
Mhm.
representation to as well.
Yes. I wanted to ask you this when we go back to micronations. What I read last time, and I know, like I told everybody before, I learned micro when I watched him, I learned it from you, and you are taking yours more serious. And what we have to understand with micronations, we are self-developed small countries. His country has nothing to do with my country and rules, but we all have the same goals. What me and AP agreed on is that we both know that we have our American status. We know that we struggle on different levels, and we both have our reasons of why we want to separate from America, but still have our dual citizenship or keep our American citizenships. But what we have are small countries, micronations. And when he's saying that, we're trying to get recognized as a small country. Some people, as he said, the Republic of Malaysia, I think it sits in Nevada. And I talk with him, and he does his more as an entertainment country. So he's not trying to separate, but he has a whole customs you can go through and travel, and that's his land. And AP has his micronation. We have ours. Just like back in the time when we all had different tribes. This is different tribes. And we, by international law, this is very legal to do. And that's what I wanted you to talk with them about. But I wanted to ask this question. How many micronations are out there?
That's a fantastic question. I'm not sure anybody fully knows that number. Any, I
I've
suppose it
seen
depends
about
on how
150. What I looked
you.
at is 150, and a lot of people don't know there's a lot of micronations right here in America.
Mhm. Absolutely. I would say it depends on how seriously you classify micronationalism, like how many projects you put into the umbrella term
Mhm.
of micronationalism. It could be anywhere from a few hundred to, tens of thousands, depending on, if you consider something that ran for a month and was just a page on the internet of micronationalism, then sure, there are plenty of them. Sometimes people start 10 or 20 of them trying to figure out what they want to do. I don't
Mhm.
recommend that, but you could say there are a lot of micronations. And
Mhm.
again, I think the hardest thing for a group like yours with ALKEBULAN to to find is you being a more serious prospect in this and wanting to push forward.
Mhm.
Finding other nations that are interested in the same things and that want to do the
Yes.
same things is the hardest part. So there may be thousands of these, but there may be 10 that are reasonable for you to reach out to and connect to
Mhm.
that are actively pursuing those goals. So uh,
And
certainly something.
you are serious about your future goals, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
that's why if you see our micronation allying, or because his micronation actually goes through a ceremonial process of getting allies. So I brung AP to let you see black or white, because everybody knows me, um what we're doing, because I had people, and I know, and I'm going to be honest, me and AP talks honestly all the time. And a lot of people don't understand, they think, oh, I don't want to do anything with white people and this and that. Our point of creating a country is not to be like the people that we want to get away from or something. We are wanting to govern ourselves, but we have to have allies and we have to do business and stuff. AP is a young micronation, and they have great plans for the future. And if we're going to take ourselves to the future, we have to understand it's not about, even though America, let's get where America is tricking us. No, it's not about black or white, but white supremacy makes it about black or white, and we're left out. With the new way that micronations are, we can trade, do business, and do everything among each other as a micronation. And we are trying to do some big things. And we want y'all to know that his tribe has nothing to do with our tribe, but we have the same interest if we want to build our nations. He wants his people to have what his future is, and we want our people. And I think that the Empire of Eternia is a great empire that is growing, and I think not think I want to be an ally with him. We've been talking behind scenes, and that's why we're going to be doing more shows and talking more, because we have to bring micronations to the top. I think in one of the magazines they're just talking, and I want you to explain to them one of the countries over there in the Middle East that were there's micronations that the United Empires have actually made a complete state. So can you explain, or do you know, like, to explain that?
I was going to say I'm not super familiar with what you're referring to actually at the moment.
Well, with a micronation being a small state, most people write the UN, and they want the United Nations to recognize them. So there's a lot of small countries like Sudan or one of them. That's how, I think it has to be 5 of the main countries under the UN that will agree and then put you down as statehood. A lot of people are not looking. You're probably not looking for that. I don't know if you're looking for that or whatever, but it's a lot of international laws that allows us to be micronations.
I think I understand what you're referring to now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so 100%, the Empire of Eternia does want to be recognized by the UN as an independent country.
Thank you.
The the way that um, the way that that develops, like you said, Queen Tina, is there's something in the United Nations called the UN Security Council. And the UN has all of these rules for how nations should interact with each other who are a part of it or who aren't. Just the way that the UN sees how world politics should happen between countries. And
Mm-hmm.
in that list of rules, they have the definitions for what a country is. And they essentially say that a country, anybody has the right to what they call like self-determination, self-governance. You have the
Mm-hmm.
ability to choose, who governs you. Now that certainly has that has a certain size minimum that I
Mm-hmm.
think isn't directly stated, but is pretty well implied in it. So you can't, as an individual, say, "Oh, well, I don't like the U.S. government, so I'm not listening to I'm not obeying the
Mm-hmm.
law." They because there's a lot that goes on with that, but
Yes, go ahead.
the the uh, there are nations in the United Nations which make up those rules and determine who's obeying those rules and who aren't, like a police force, like a court, so like a legal court. So that UN Security Council determines which aspiring countries, which countries have good cases for becoming recognized independent nations, and they are it's generally very, very hard. Sometimes there are nations
Mm-hmm.
which, for all intents and purposes, to other countries around the world, are independent. They trade independently. They have populations and millions of people, and yet they still aren't recognized because one of those UN Security Council members does not want them to be recognized for political interests. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard to get that status. But yes, absolutely. For my micronation, and it seems like as well for you, Queen Tina, the goal is to be a recognized nation.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty with that is, especially being in the United States, who is a UN Security Council member and who decides on a lot of these
Yeah.
cases. The same thing with Russia, China, those countries. The the issue becomes that if you are trying to propose some sort of independence from them, you have to make it almost impossible for them to legally argue against that. To say, well, there's something that they are taking from us, which which allows us to deny them access to this. So if you, for example, say, I bought land in the United States, that land is mine, therefore it's no longer a part of the US. They would
Mm-hmm.
say, well, no, they would argue that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difficult process to go about. Everybody's going to find their own ways as they develop to
Mm-hmm.
go from essentially levels, states of independence, where a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people get bogged down with something like just being able to own land or being able to, pay bills, to be able to live sustainably and independently. Each of those kind of milestones moves you closer and closer to independence because it builds your case for it. You can start to say, hey, well, the land that I have is in the United States, but the people that live on it don't interact as minimally as possible with the United States, other than have to. The people on our land don't use any of the electrical grid. Our area is completely removed from the grid. It delivers its own energy, runs itself. The same thing with water. You could do it that way, where you're saying, hey, we have well water, we have rain collected water that is not needed to be supplied by another country. We can grow our own food and say, hey, now we're producing our own crops so that we can feed ourselves. We don't have to go to the grocery store as much. The more that you can make the case that a particular government isn't actually helping you and that you're able to do things independently from it, it's harder and harder for that case to be brought against you that no, actually, you need to be a part of this country. So those are big things toward building your case for something like that. I think in general, even having any land in another country will constitute arguments against that. For example, Taiwan. I'm not sure if many people have heard about the situation in Taiwan, but Taiwan, for most purposes, the U.S. considers Taiwan its own country. Many other countries actively trade and discuss with Taiwan about its future, about its governance, about its people. Very similarly to Hong Kong, as an independent part of China. Both of these places being things which have, for one reason or another, historically been separated from China and have been considered independent by other countries. So other countries will trade with them, make policies with them, do military exercises with them. And yet, because of China's strong control, being a UN Security Council member and being a very large economic power in the world, can say, hey, if you want China's help on anything at all, you're not going to recognize Taiwan. You're not going to recognize Hong Kong. They have done this in big ways, like denying them entrance to the UN. But they've also done this in smaller ways, like saying, okay, well, any country that recognizes Taiwan or Hong Kong cannot get a loan from China. Any country that recognizes Taiwan or Hong Kong, we are going to make it hard for them to get into the Olympics, things like that.
Can I say this? Let me pause you right there. And that's what we are going to come up against, people. Because if we have land in here, it's not impossible. So it's two things he's saying. As a micronation, you are recognized. So countries can trade and write policies and help you. But if you want to be recognized by the United Nations, you have to follow these standards. And when the United Nations was made, America is one of them that specifically said that they wanted to be on the board to make those decisions of who can and cannot be a state. And when he's saying that Taiwan and Hong Kong, they're in China, but they're still, the world recognizes them as an independent state, but the UN doesn't, because China is called control. And that's what we run across as Black people here. They did China, they did Hong Kong and everything like they did us as slaves. Like, okay, any white person that supports Black people, you're not going to get this, or we're going to ostracize you. That's through history. That is a way of controlling so that they can keep control, but it still does not stop us as saying we're a micronation, other countries recognizing us. And then there's two things. You have the United Nations, but as micronations itself, we're our own entity. We can trade among each other. So we're just another small set of what you would call the UN. We are still independent countries. We're small states that we have claimed our own independence. And because for whatever reason, AP has his reasons and he knows our reasons and the world knows our reasons. But I want y'all to understand, you have micronations and you have every right. Now, our problem runs into what he said, the land within the United States. So we have a lot of hills to climb. If we want to take land that we have in the United States, we have to completely come off the grid and provide for ourselves if we want the UN to recognize us as other countries. But that still does not stop us being recognized as a small country. It's confusing, but it doesn't mean other countries cannot help us. We just won't be on their list of those countries in the UN, but we will still be recognized. The whole point of being recognized and having allies is that if another country comes and attacks you, they got your back, or different things like that. But go ahead and explain if you want to pick up from there.
Absolutely. So I think very similarly to like you were saying, Quintina, a lot of the difficulty will not be from war. Certainly, hopefully not.
Mhm.
A lot of nobody wants to have anything violent happen. Nobody wants to ever, put themselves at risk like that. So a lot of the time, what countries do is they impose economic difficulties, which are just as effective
Mhm.
as a war to be able to stop the production and development of the country. So
Mhm.
the limit, if you have land in the United States, even if it's 100% separated from the grid, even if you have talked to other countries and said, hey, we're independent and we want to work with you and we want to develop with you,
Mhm.
most nations around the world will not talk to you very much,
Mhm.
simply because they are worried about the effect that that will have on them with the United States. The United
Mhm.
States is an incredible power in the world.
Intimidator.
Yes. Um, and on top of that, it's something in which almost every currency in the world, because of World War II, is backed on the United States dollar. It's
Mhm.
just, it was an economic policy that was created at the time so that they could essentially be a big creditor for all of these
Mhm.
other countries and give them
Mhm.
loans to fight wars.
Mhm.
And so now that it's been decades and decades and decades from that, they're still reaping the interest on that. And
Mhm.
so when other countries get brought opportunities or conflicts that they want to speak out against or that they want to help or provide, if it is against the interests of the United States, those countries will really not be inclined to do that because they still have large debts to the United States. The United States still has a lot of control and influence on what they are able to do and how they are able to grow. So you know, it's kind of this situation of like um, people on paper wanting to be able to help you or wanting to show interest in what you're doing, but not being able to because of a much larger
Yes.
kind of
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And I want to pause you there. And that's what the United States, there's these big countries, they basically in a slave policy. And this is why a lot of people say, oh, everybody is in slavery, because in order, it's like one day it might not be, it's not going to be like that forever, because the United States interest is not for everyone. But because they control the dollars, everybody is like bowing down, because that's what happened to Haiti. That's what happened to the Haitians when they signed that declaration that he's talking about. And when the Haitians fought back because they couldn't enslave that country, it was written that none of the other countries can trade and do business with Haitians. And now Haitians, they have stuff, they have resources, but they cannot trade their resources in the big economy. But what the second thing is, there's still a lot of countries out here, micronations and smaller countries, that are not under the UN. Every country is not signed up under the United Nations. So those countries basically are self-sufficient and they can do business with us. They don't have to worry about being ostracized if they want to send in goods or stuff like that, to a certain extent, because we're still coming into the US borders. So they make sure they got all these lines and stuff lined up. So I want y'all to see how serious it is and why it takes so much and taking years to go through the rules of a micronation. So when I have my members asking, well, let's do this, do that, I say it's hard because we're in this land, unless you can get land separated from the United States. And we can fight the land we buy and say this is a foreign territory, but that's the fight that AP is saying, that we would have to go through these rules for the UN to say, hey, yes, but the United States is one of the main voters on the on the UN Council to say, okay, yes and no. And that's how they did Gaddafi. Gaddafi in Libya, wasn't it Liberia, when he was trying to get his gold. I mean, well, they had the money to back their dollars, but it didn't happen. Things happened. He ended up dead. And of course, they say he did this and that to his people, but the United States always does stuff to all their people, and yet they go wage wars on other countries by saying they're treating their people inhumane. So I just wanted you to understand, you have the big wigs. It's kind of like the capitalism, the big corporations. And then you got them small businesses. So that's how we are with countries. You got the big countries that everybody know about, and that's this and that. But then you have small countries, which is small businesses, that you can still do business with each other. And that's why, as allies, that's why I want our nation to go to microcon, so that we can start getting with other micronations, and especially what like AP understands us, and we're trying to go into the future financially together, because the future is coming. AP is about to graduate college, or already graduated, and he and I don't want to tell all your business, fiance, they have plans, and the plans that he have is awesome. And if, as a leader or one of the founders of this micronation, you will see me more with AP. No, he's not ruling this country. You don't see America ruling China. So I wanted us to get out of our head of the racism. Yes, you see me go hard on racists. So to knock the thing out, oh, you're racist and this and that. No. AP understands that where we're from as melanated people and why we want to govern ourselves. AP is not trying to control. He's been helping me knowledgeable of what to do. And so we, as the micronation of ALKEBULAN, said this is a Black nation. We want to help ourselves and build ourselves. So he has no, but doesn't mean we can't do business with other white nations and stuff, or Caucasian or Mexican or whatever they are. So those white people that follow me, the whole point was so that if we have people we can that doesn't qualify in our nation, we have other micronations. That's what it's kind of like, hey, we're around. So those that, and I don't want to, because people say, oh, you want to be racist. No, we're not trying to build a micronation to do nothing to white people or Mexicans or nothing. We just want to have a space of ourselves so we can stop being oppressed and we can grow. And so you're going to see us do business together and whatever we can with the future. We have to think like country leaders. We're small countries. It has nothing to do with being an organization inside the United States. Can you explain the difference with a micronation and a nonprofit and organization, in these churches and these farms that they got? What a lot of people don't know, you're still under the America. You're not separated. So you can take it from there.
Absolutely. So I would say there is no one clear-cut path to becoming an independent country.
Exactly.
Like I said, many, many, many countries have tried and it failed, and have been trying for hundreds of years for people to recognize them. So it can be a daunting task. The ways that a small group of people could start about growing that, in my opinion, are around legal means. You want to be able to figure out the best way that you can collect resources as possible, and for just the thriving of your nation and the development of its progress, you want to make sure that everybody really likes what you're doing. If you are able to get a lot of people to support you and to feel comfortable supporting you, then you can move forward into making larger and larger moves with the amount of people that support you. If you can say, hey, I have this many subscribers on YouTube, we have this many whatevers, that's in social media terms, that's not enough to declare your independence as far as the UN is concerned, but it is enough for you to be able to start branching out to larger groups, to businesses, to media outlets, and saying, hey, we have support here. There are people who recognize and know what our country is, and that's a stepping stone for us. So we are using that as a means to accomplish bigger and bigger goals. And
Exactly.
so that gets into small businesses like Queen Tina was talking about. So once you start gathering these resources and start making this money and start having these people who are putting in ideas and wanting to work more and more, well, now you start to think about, okay, well, if these people are going to be dedicating all their time to this, I probably need to pay them at some point. And we probably need to be able to do that so we can grow larger. And then you think, okay, well, we need a space to be able to have all of our stuff to grow and to get bigger and better, to have a place for people to come to. Okay, so now we need land. Oh, this sounds like it's a business almost. It sounds like you're
Mhm,
you're starting to develop what they call in a national scale an economy. And
mhm,
so that's what you start looking into is, okay, if I'm thinking of this from a country perspective and I'm looking at this in terms of a few people, okay, well, I need to figure out how I can make that economy even though I'm inside of another country. How do I make something that's independent and has its own circulation separate from what this other country is doing? And from what I've found in my 4 or 5 years developing Eternia, is that it's a lot easier to do it in a very interconnected way. So the way that Eternia has done that is by creating itself as a small business. So we
mhm.
are the Empire of Eternia, which controls the Empire of Eternia LLC, which is a business in the state of Alabama. So
Gotcha.
what we are doing is we are using that business, that LLC, as a way to generate revenue to make just direct profit from sales that we support other people in our nation in creating and selling and giving them payouts from the profits of to be able to grow and expand what we can do because now we say, hey, we have a consistent monthly income. It's very small, but we have something that we know is guaranteed to be there every single month. So we can take that and say, okay, well, how do we stretch that a little bit more? Is that enough to get land? If it's not enough to get land and a big goal like that, maybe it's enough to get better equipment. Maybe it's enough to rent a software program that would help, to promote your social media or whatever it is you're doing.
Mhm,
Um, these are all the kind of mindset that you can build when you go from, okay, I have my idea of creating a country to, okay, now I need to start gathering and collecting those resources. You'll be able to
mhm,
make that checklist. You'll be able to make those goals
mhm,
really quickly the more you start thinking about it
mhm,
because you'll find all the gaps in what you need to get to that next step. And
mhm,
that helps to really outline where you're going and who you need to contact to be able to
mhm.
take those next steps.
Let me ask you this with the Empire of Eternia, which is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Y'all like and share and follow him on YouTube and all my haters, if you don't like listen to me, you can follow him because I know with us being a black nation, there's other nations out there. So you don't have to worry about what our nation doing. Doesn't mean we can't do business together, but we're gonna govern ourselves and stuff. So it's just like having different tribes, how it was in the beginning before we had capitalists to come take over. That's all it was. And I want you to start telling some projects that you have started small and you started small and you have a lot of projects, a lot of small projects going, and we've been talking about, expanding that for our people. So let's talk about your metals and your currency. So go ahead.
Absolutely. So, the first thing that I really tried to do once I saw that I was getting more traction on YouTube, again, I don't have a huge channel. I think actually Queen Tina's channel now is significantly larger than ours. But when I first
You got
started
lots
off,
of knowledge for us.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But the original goal that I had in mind once I started seeing some people take interest, at a few hundred subscribers, was okay, well, how do I turn that into something meaningful? I don't have enough yet to get monetized. I don't have enough yet to run ads on my videos. But I do have enough that maybe somebody will throw $1 my way on Patreon. So I set up a Patreon. That's just something that I knew if I could get anybody to support and join that Patreon, that would mean some guaranteed income every month, because a lot of the time you're charged on Patreon per month
Mm-hmm.
to support a creator. And
Mm-hmm.
you can create, special videos for people who are your patrons. You can create special shout outs on your channel and things like that to help them out. So it's just a way for those people who care about what you're doing and really support you to go that extra mile and to give you a little bit more that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty much free way. You have to pay taxes on what you get out of it. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
much a free way to start out. It doesn't cost anything to just throw your Patreon up and say, hey, if you guys support me, this is a way you can help out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from there, once you have that little bit of traction, even if you didn't have any other income, even if you had to use everything else that you had just to pay bills and to survive, that few dollars a month you can save and eventually say, okay, what's a project that I could do? What's something that I feel like people would really like and get value out of that I could use to grow that community even more and to
Mm-hmm.
get people something of value. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, what that turned into was making medals. The Empire of Eternia, of course, is one which wants to celebrate its community and one which wants to
Mm-hmm.
try to encourage people to live more and more as declared members of the Empire of Eternia, citizens of the Empire of Eternia, citizens of any micronation.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that we came out with was the Unity Medal. We have an Etsy shop, which you can check out. It's etsy.com/Imperial Market, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so or you can check it out on our Wix site. If you type in the Empire of Eternia, like you see in the screen, you can go to our website and there's links to all that there as
Mm-hmm.
well. Um, when you go there, you can see this little like felt medal. I actually made one the other day for somebody's order, but it's a little red piece of cloth, and it has a shield on it, and it has an arrow on it. The Empire of Eternia, our flag actually has something called the Arrow of Progress on it. The
Mm-hmm.
Arrow of Progress is just our symbol, and it's from the story of Odysseus and the Odyssey, the Greek myth. And so we wanted to make something that showed kind of that Eternia part with the arrow hanging down, but we
Mm-hmm.
also wanted to have something that people who like the channel as a micronational channel, but may not directly be a part of Eternia, could still
Exactly.
agree with and could still support. So we made the Unity Medal in this idea that all micronations need to come together and support each other. That if you go out and you're living your life as a micronationalist, if you say, I'm from ALKEBULAN, I'm not from Eternia, you can still say, but I wear this Unity Medal, which lets everybody know that we're connected. We're micronations together. We recognize each other. We see each other. We support each other. So we came up with that, and the community kind of took off with it. We've had a few sales from that. That's worked out nicely. I've been honored by everybody who has, taken a chance on that and has enjoyed the product. And so
Mm-hmm.
we sold that off. We just said, anybody as a way to support us, you can purchase this, and it helps our micronation. It helps us to get the word out
That's
about
awesome.
micronation.
I want you
Yes,
to
ma'am.
go back. I want you to take a step. Just stop with the medal right there. Tell them how you got the medal. You got a little kit and you actually melt it down. That you
Oh,
actually that's what I was saying about your projects because you was telling me about. Go ahead.
yes, ma'am. So that's actually a slightly different thing, but it does
Oh.
relate. So that was the thing I was talking about previously was the Unity Medal. That was one of the first things that we started out with on our Etsy. Moving forward, though, we essentially decided, okay, well, I'm a broke college student. I'm trying to make it myself and just to survive. But that
Mhm.
being the case, um, I didn't want to make any profit from what Eternia is doing, especially in the beginning. So what I decided was all of the revenue that this, whether it's our Patreon, whether it's our Etsy, makes goes 100% into a land purchase fund for us. This circles back to what you were talking
Mhm.
about a second ago with the metals, but it it ultimately allowed us to say, hey, I'll pay all the expenses for all the things that we need out of my own pocket. And then there's
Mhm.
this goal that people know, hey, AP is not taking this money that we're making and, just kind of taking it and using it for
Mhm.
whatever. This is all going, you can check it out on our website, toward a land purchase for us to allow
Mhm.
us to grow the nation. So we were then thinking, okay, well, people have supported that idea, and people have kind of jumped on and started purchasing our Unity Medal with that. We created Imperial Notes as a way, which is our currency. We call it a currency and it's what we recognize as our currency, but it's not something that we can transact like a currency yet because we need a license for that. But it has been used on our website as a way to raise funds. So we can say, hey, if you purchase these, you can just kind of keep them. They're nice as a way for you to collect and support the empire and to kind of just flex how much you've helped us. And that goes toward that land purchase fund as well. So in doing that, we eventually got to where we are now with having a larger industry. Those things were things that we were just taking a little bit of money that we made and then throwing it right back in and exhausting almost all of it to be able to just keep that flow going, to keep that interest built up. Now we have started our metals refining industry, which is essentially, you see our ingots that we make, our purified aluminum ingots that we sell on Etsy. But that is where we take things like aluminum cans, we take copper, we take any metal at all, and we
Hold
can
on, I
melt
want
it
to
down.
pause there. I want you to pause there. You said cans, like what we recycle. I know a lot of us think about recycling, and I'm getting him to explain stuff because I want us to get in the mind that we're going to kind of go backwards a little bit with the comfortabilities, and we're going to have to, if we want to be self-sufficient, we got to start doing stuff. So he's saying cans and different metals. He on his YouTube channel, which is the Empire of Eternia, you can go look at some of his videos, and he's actually trying to, it's small but it's big at the same time because he's not going to a corporation. He's trying to use the land and stuff to create his own economy, and that's what we have to go through. So go ahead.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I appreciate it, Queen Tina. The idea behind that was essentially to make something that we want to be eco-friendly. We want to use renewable resources the way that Eternia grows and becomes more self-sufficient. Like we said, you already want to be disconnected from the power grid as much as possible for independence purposes. So why not as well save the planet and get everybody excited about what you're doing, show that you're moving into the future by using renewable energy, which you'll have to do anyway to get off the grid. So what we decided to do was to create an electric arc furnace. An electric arc furnace is something that is used on larger scales in the steel refining industry, where the only way that they can heat and compress these large, hundreds and hundreds of ton batches of liquid steel is to be able to heat it with a plasma. So just a super, super hot electrical arc. That I actually, I go to school for physics, so I'm well equipped to build and design stuff like this. But I created this little electric arc furnace as something that I actually saw online and that I took other people's ideas from, so it wasn't 100% mine.
Well, you did it, but the thing is, you did it, and you gave me the idea where we can start melting our metals, and even if it's aluminum cans, you can still melt it in coins and your money, different things that you could use. And you took something small, and that's why I said down at the bottom where it's scrolling, it's the Empire of Eternia. You can go to his YouTube channel and you can see these things. So go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And so that's the idea, is that I was able to create that small one. And we've been able to refine aluminum ingots really well with that, and we sell them online. We sell them actually with our arrow of progress stamped into it. So when you buy them, you're getting a little piece of metal, which is nice and it's pretty to look at, and it's something that helps support us. But as well, it's something that reminds you of Eternia and really connects to the culture.
And it's something with what we're doing now is rewriting history. As I told you, we're older, and my founders in our nation, we're looking at our children that comes up through the nation. If we're allies, I know you have great ideas for the future, great ideas. And like you said, you told them you're a engineer physicist and you're getting ready to graduate, and people don't know exactly your plans, but those coins, everything we're making, everything we're doing, this is a new shift. American dollar is about 4 cents now, even though America is ruling. We all know what's going on. So everything that's being made now by hand is going to be worth something. We know what artifacts are. We know. So what you're making and everything, and like I tell my members, we're making history. It's going to be worth money. So go ahead. Yeah, I'm in here. I'm on the show. My mom.
Yes, no, but absolutely.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I understand. It's the same thing. Trying to take that little bit of value that you've collected and expand that. And it also makes something unique culturally for you. That's why we're continuing. So our future plans are to find a way to expand that metals refining business. Right now, the little small uh, uh, electric arc furnaces that we have can melt, a few ounces of metal at a time. They're so hot, fortunately, that the way of doing it is a lot better, in my opinion, than something like a propane furnace, which, you're using natural gas for. With this method, it's so hot that it can melt any metal. It's also can melt glass and do other things. It's a very versatile tool.
I'm sorry, can it melt gold?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So it can melt steel, which is one of the highest melting point metals. So gold is a little bit under that.
Oh.
Silver,
What
all
about
of those.
copper? Where is copper at in that melting?
Absolutely, copper is pretty high as well. So I think it. I could be wrong about this. I think it goes like steel, a significant amount down, then copper, and then kind of a little bit below copper, gold, silver. Then you get into things like aluminum, softer metals.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. I mean, that's awesome. So go ahead.
Absolutely. And so that little amount that we've been able to create right now, fortunately, we've gotten another supporter in Alabama who's local to us that we've been able to connect to, who's actually become our first paid employee as well. He's somebody who's starting to work subcontract with us to be able to have him produce his own metals when he gets time, and then he can give those to us. We can sell them online and give him an agreed upon rate for each one of those. So we now have expanded to the point where we went from myself just when I could, when I had a little bit of time, making one or two of these ingots and trying to sell them online, to now we have two people doing that. And so that's just without really having any defined land, without having anything purchased that we can call our own. And we've still been able to make progress. So the
Mhm.
next step is to try and get that land. We're actively pushing for it. Right now, we have about 10% of our goal, but we also have a number of other things lined up to actually start purchasing in the short term, which will be exciting. If we get that and we can move forward there, I actually have a very large transformer that I've gotten that's, maybe 50 or so times the power of the little arc furnace that I've been using. So we'll go from, creating, refining metals on the order of, a few ounces to maybe tens or potentially hundreds of pounds of metal at a time. And so that'll allow us to
Yeah.
do it cheaper and do it at a larger scale.
And I like that because I mean, I'm gonna just give us a glimpse of what me and you've been talking about behind scenes, seeing how one micronation, how we can help each other as micro nations. And if the land comes up, we're looking at projects where we can learn those, learn together or do something together. So just putting it out there. Of course, we would need him to show us certain stuff if we don't get the support we need from others. I don't see it. But I also wanted us. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm with my mom. But explain. You got the metal, and I wanted to say the metals is good because we both look in his back. Look, we both are trying. We're both trying hard to get things for our nation and up and going. And so basically I I want my nation members to hear everything you're saying so that we can have a understand, and other people who say, oh, I don't want white people, this is supposed to be our fight. No, we're one nation, we're governing ourselves now. When we all say, oh, we're gonna govern ourselves, after we govern ourselves, then what next? Then what is next? But go ahead and explain more. I'm gonna grab something for my mom. Just go ahead and explain a little bit more.
Absolutely. So for a lot of Eternia's goals, for the way that we've been trying to push forward and to make our own country, has been on that economic front. In order to, make political power increase, especially in the United States, you need a lot of money. There are people who lobby all the time. Corporations like Queen Tina talked about earlier, that spend large percentages of their funding every year just to hire people to go to Congress, to go to the federal government and try to lobby to get laws passed that help their business, that decrease their taxes, that give them less regulations so that they can do things like pollute, so that they can do things like take people's data over the internet and stuff and sell it. There are large industries that work specifically on lobbying for corporations, and that is a lot of the time how politicians get their funding to run again. So political power in the United States is really, really closely tied to the amount of money that you have, whether that's any organization in the world, whether that's a religion, whether that's a business, whether that's a community. The more money that you have, the more power that you have to influence and affect things. So what we're trying to do is to increase that economy as quickly as possible and to multiply that, to connect with other people who can help us and to grow that. So in trying to expand this metals refining industry, we are taking something that is normally trash to people, like their old aluminum cans, like copper, like steel bits and things like that, and we're
Old jewelry,
creating
old
a tool.
jewelry.
Absolutely, old jewelry, and we're taking that and we're able to increase the value of it with this tool that we have. It takes time, it takes effort, but it's something which gives us a net return out at the end. And so the quicker that we can do it, the larger that we can do it, the more return we get out of it, and the more we can turn around to invest in other projects, which will continue to
Exactly.
kind of multiply that.
And I wanted to bring this up too, because me and you talked about aquaponics or microgreen. And you and we're gonna just talk about a small that you set up automation where you can control the what is it that you do with the microgreens that
So I don't want to talk too much about that because it's
okay,
something that
my
I'm
bad,
working on
yeah.
with another nation. That's all right. I appreciate it. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's something that I'm connecting with an individual nation to develop technology for them to be able to run a business that they're doing.
Yeah, to run, yeah, so and farming. So where he has, like, I love it, like I told him I love it that he's young, and I wish our people, and I'm not trying to be funny, I wish our people would open up more and understand what we're doing. If you don't like a Keeblan, if you don't like Eternia, that doesn't mean you can't create your own micronation, and we still support each other. That's what I'm trying to get you to. We're supporting each other as a micronation, as a mini state or small state that is growing, because we're trying to in the future be independent of our countries or keep our dual citizenship. Me and him both agreed that it's crazy to leave your citizenship and then you're a loner out here with no country protection, and your micronation doesn't have a strong enough army to fight off these big countries. So and then I don't even look at fighting, because I was going to talk to you more. I probably never said this. As a micronation, and I don't know if it's been done as a micronation, it doesn't mean that we cannot do business with our other nation. Even, I think that is the way that you come across, so I feel like in the future we can still do business with America, whatever would be left and stuff like that. And so I just brought the AP, the emperor of the Empire of Eternia, so that we can understand what we're doing out here as micronations. We got MicroCon coming up, and you said that was in May, right?
That is in August. I believe it's August
August.
5th through the
Oh, okay,
7th.
that's greater. That's better,
Yeah.
because in August, if all of us that's going to take it serious, we need to be at MicroCon. So me and AP, the tickets are high, and we talked about raising funds in the few, raising funds to go to MicroCon. So if anybody wants to donate to AP or us, go to AP site. I also have in the description, in the YouTube description, how you can reach him. So when this is done, just go to the description, my YouTube, and you have his links to click on. And
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to build this together, because we have to build the future. I know people call me racist all the time, this and that. I told AP, and I'm going to say it again, No, I don't think all white people are the same. I think the spirit of white supremacy is there, and that's what's holding us back. I'm not gonna lie, and we want to build. And so we do learn from each other, and it's people like AP that's out here. When you showing that you're trying to help us, that's a different thing, and it's nothing that he can control. He don't need our paperwork. We have our own treaties that we will agree upon as micronations, just like the United States. Open your mind. They always talk about going to war with China and Russia, but they still do business.
Yeah.
They still do business. And still,
Absolutely.
Ronald, will you please erase Ronald's chat? Because the thing is, that's the worst thing you could do. You think like an ignorant person, because there is, the thing is, we're in the United States, as you heard AP say earlier. The United States owns, basically has a rule of who can do business with who. And we need to start, like I always say, get to the root of the problem. We got to know who can do business with. That's how they took a group of us, as what we consider melanated people, black people, and they made it like, okay, you can't do this and that. That's the United States. And then the people in the United States that's here, they don't try to make a micronation. They're not trying to separate, because they're okay with what the United States is doing. AP can get his degree and go work for one of these big corporations if he wanted to. He's building a micronation to separate. So we have to not be like our enemy, but we are playing chess. And we both have our goals. There's no way. Do you see Haiti? Haiti is poor because nobody is doing business. You have to be, you got to educate yourself. And that's our problem. And I'm going to just say this is our people. We have not been educated on foreign affairs. You have to have foreign affairs to be a country. We're not another organization. That would be like, okay, we're another group or organization, this and that. No. We are another small country, and they are a small country. There's small countries out here called micronations. And you have to have your what we call international law and stuff. You're doing foreign affairs with each other. So stop thinking like a person that's angry. See, people get me mixed up all the time, but I'm very smart. And I understand. I don't understand everything, but those that's willing to teach us, we need to listen. It doesn't mean AP is coming over, he's sitting at the table. He's not that. When we do business with other countries, it has nothing to do with our people, but it does and it doesn't. But we are looking at the future together, because that's what it be. We're never going to be successful. Never. If we don't have other countries, no matter if we become, Africa is a big country, no matter who is ruling it, you would still, if Africa was on top and the European countries wasn't, the European countries in Africa would still have to do business together. It's called foreign affairs. This country has something that the other country needs, so you come up with agreements, and that's how money and help gets exchanged. So we have not been taught politics and foreign affairs. The politics and affairs that go on the soil of America has nothing to do with other countries. That's why sometimes people leave America and go to other countries and find more freedom. So I'm not ruling our micronation with hate or ignorance. I do say stuff because I want to hit hard and I want people to think. But I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, white people bad, this and that, and say this stuff. I'm talking about what we've been through, but not bring solutions. The solutions is to build a micro country. He knows we're going serious with this thing, but we're not saying, hey, we want a nation and we're going to shoot and kill. No, we have every right to try to govern ourselves, and we want peacefully. We want to be that where they said we weren't. The reason why our rights was taken away is because we were called animal. We're being treated like we're too stupid to rule ourselves. And if we sit up here and say we're not going to do business with white people, then you're doing what they want you to do. Divide yourself. If the only thing other countries can do is enriching the other country. You have to have allies to say, hey, we have different goals, but do we all have the same goal? And we want a country for our people. So that's why I brought AP on here, and you're going to see us talk more as a micro nation. We're doing foreign affairs right now. It's going to happen. If you don't like it, go learn something. We need to start reading books and stop going by rumors and everything. I learned when I'm sitting there looking at our situation as a melanated woman and the things that we see, and I felt like God sent me there because nobody Black was talking about it. Not trying to be funny, because we have been left out of education for a long time. And those that are educated don't know what to do about it. So him as a younger teen. And I'm listening, and I noticed that what he was saying, and going from there. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what you do. So they're separating from America. So what you have to do is you got to think in war, we would be horrible at war because you think everything is your enemy. You don't know how to help and not help each other. We destroy each other more. Have you ever seen, I want y'all to Google, besides the lone wolf, have you reached out to him? I think he has a micronation. I think it's like 2 other Black people. And I'm not trying to be funny. Name a Black person who got a micronation. You can't. So we're, our people are not even together. That's right, Queen Adea. It's like business partners. Y'all talk all this mess, and then you get up and go right to the stores that's owned by the people you claim that think about it. How come there's not a lot of Black businesses? Because this country decided that they wanted to leave their Black residents behind. This is this country's rule. So we don't like the way America is ruling. AP said he don't like the way he struggles too. He don't like the way his family was poor. He don't like the way America was ruling. He wants to separate, but we all got our attachments to America. So we're not marching, we're not yelling, we're doing something serious about it, because you got to build a future. And the future is to govern yourself. We turn it in a bunch of tribes. If we were all a bunch of tribes, what's going on in our land has nothing to do with the other one, unless the other one is trying to go to war. But I think America has been in war since America has been America. None of us is trying to do no war. We're trying to love, recoup, build a new finance. What you see today is not going to be tomorrow. You don't know which one from AETERNIA and ALKEBULAN, which one of us is going to be the top dollar, because America's dollar is not what it was worth. That's why there's so many changes going on in America. But if you don't know foreign affairs and you're not catching yourself up on politics, I'll be here talking all day. So I suggest that you educate yourself and understand what a president does and what countries do. How this, America hates Korea, but we still got Korean stuff. America claims they don't like China, but everything in America is made by China. Open your eyes. America tells you these people are your enemies, but they're still doing business.
I put too much Sprite.
Oh. But we're still doing business. So that's why I brought this here, because when our website is released, we're claiming our micronation openly, and we're going to be, and you need to educate yourself on the other micronations that's out there. When AP, my founders will tell you, when I first was telling them, I sent them your videos. I told them you have to listen there, and then we started doing more research. So we're not getting ready to be these people. If we spent more time, and I feel a lot of us, if we spent more time working on solutions, you wouldn't have time to worry about other stuff, because you know that you're building a future. I'm building a future. Like I told AP, he knows my standards. We know each other's standards, and we want to go ahead. America has never kept any promises or any treaties. But we are the new future. Those that don't like it, we are creating promises and treaties among each other. In our nation, we have treaties with each other, and it's called, I'm gonna see if I can put it up there. Oh, it's not working. It's called the melanated codes. Those codes are for us to live by. So hold on. Go ahead. AP, I want you to elaborate on being business partners in micronations for a second.
Absolutely. So, a lot of my connection to Alkebulan and to Quintina kind of started through connection to, I believe, her channel, through her TikTok, and through just like email contact and stuff. And the more that I got to know about Quintina and about what the goals and interests of Alkebulan are, the more I started thinking about connections between the two of us. And I know Quintina had thought about the same thing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So the the more and more that our nations started kind of running parallel tracks, the more that it seemed too good to be true. It seemed like a almost a necessary friendship. And so
Mm-hmm.
as we've continued to talk and as we've gotten to know each other more, we have been able to come up with some great ideas. Trying to, again, our Eternia's biggest push right now is to be able to get its land. We are trying to do something for that in the short term. I'm hoping that works out. If that's the case, we're going to be doing a big push soon for very, very much like Queen Tina said, trying to fundraise, trying to be able to pay off loans for that land. But in the case that it doesn't, we're still actively trying to grow our land purchase funding and look for other tracts of land. So the idea there is to be able to take what we're doing now, the little bit of funding that we're slowly able to grow over time, and to be able to expand that, to be able to provide opportunities to Alkebulan, either to invest in that, to make their own kind of additional income just off of the work that we're doing, or to actually be able to create partnerships and agreements about those specific industries, and be able to
Exactly.
have people in Alkebulan developing things and people in Eternia developing things,
Exactly.
just to make that audience, that consumer base so much larger. The more it's very similar to currencies. If you can have your currency used by a lot of people, then it feels very valuable because almost anybody will accept your currency. It's the
Exactly.
same thing with our trade networks that we're developing, our connection between our nations. The more people that are a part of Alkebulan, and the more people that are a part of Eternia, the more it benefits us to be friends and to work together on different projects, because we can say, Alkebulan's doing all this cool stuff that Eternia can't do. Go check out Alkebulan. Go see what they're doing to get your needs met there. For Eternia, hey, Eternia's doing this and that. Go check out Eternia. And it allows people to feel like they're, even though micronations are very small things and very limited things, that they can still feel fulfilled and they can still get more and more of their needs met through these joint projects and these things we're able to do together.
And education, especially because you've been educating me on a lot. Like we said, we're not saying a lot that'll be for behind scenes, but we have a future, and it's going to take people that's like him. He's a physics major, and things that, like I said, I'm older. We didn't, one of y'all, I've been saying I'm building a micronation forever. I want those that say, oh, don't do business with this country, step up and do something then, because we're not waiting no more. We have a future to go ahead. We are learning foreign affairs, and we each have something that can help our individual countries. You need to stop thinking like the way that our enemy has taught us to think subconsciously, and go back to the beginning of the trade. When you went to one tribe, this tribe had something that the other tribe had. That's why when they dig up archaeology sites, they should Sun Kids, please tell my our micronation dollars should circulate many times before leaving our micronation. That is America. We're not building America. We're bringing our own building and wanting other people. Like if we create a coin or a crop, we want Eternia and everybody to buy it from us. If Eternia is doing something and they have money, they need this crop, they're going to get it from us. Understand foreign affairs. You're talking about America, where you spending your money in America on all types of corporations, and these neighborhoods that they consider our communities are not owned by us. It's owned by the cities and the corporations in America. We just explained at the beginning how the United Nations is set up and why we are talking about building small countries, because they got the power to say what country can do business with another country. That's why you have Haiti. The Haitians are poor and starving, even though they have stuff to sell. But the thing is, they can't sell it to another country because of the rules that's put out. Or another country can't come in there and give them help and money. Yeah, but Sunkiss, I don't know if you're an undercover person or whatever. That's what's needed for America. We have nothing. We're not talking about American business right now. We're talking about a whole country business. Okay, so get the oppression, get the marching and the kumbaya. We're not even thinking about American money. We're talking about the future of our countries. We're a country. And so we're not going to, and what we said in there, the whole thing about getting on and being a country is that we're trying to be independent of anything America has. There is no neighborhoods because we don't have a piece of land yet. So we're not looking at circulating dollars. We're looking at creating economy, creating goods and products and schools that is going to give us our own value that other countries can buy with our own dollars and our own currencies that we are creating. So we have this. That's why I left the flag up. That's why I'm talking about micronations, so we can get. You have to separate your mind. This has nothing to do with America. We're just on American soil trying to figure out how either we're going to take this piece of soil and say it's our country or move off of this soil. You know, so I want y'all to, you know, that's why I'm having this meeting so we can understand what we're doing as a micronation. We're not the NAACP. That's who need to tell y'all the circulate your dollars, and that ain't been helping. You done had all these churches. Y'all go and pray and dump it in there, and them churches take that money and put it right back in America. You do all of this. We want y'all to take that money and put it into the micronation, saying, hey, we got this land, that land, we build a school. We're going to have just like you got the U.S. Capitol and you got places that unless you got security, you can't go. That's what be with nations. But our future, we will have safe places or places that we can join our micronations together to exchange, but we will still have our own places also. You know, so look at what you see on TV. Don't the presidents go visit other countries? Why are they visiting those countries? They're going there to work out foreign affairs. When they, what do you call, dang, it slipped my mind. The students that come over here from another country to learn.
Like
foreign students, or what is it called?
Like a foreign exchange program or something?
Yeah. Who's that? I've been teaching my mama how to wrap her. Everybody, this is my mama, and she done wrapped up her hair. She always used her scarves and stuff. So that's what we've been in. When you see me doing there, she been getting dressed. And yes, foreign exchange students. Thank you, my girl, Private Bentley and Queen Adaya. Yes. Foreign exchange students come because the other countries can't provide something. So the U.S. Comes up with an agreement. That country gives the U.S. so much money or so much resources. That's why the U.S. has military bases everywhere. How you think it get there? How do you think that those military bases get there? How can another country come put a base in another country? Because they're doing some type of agreement. And so we might... AP, the Eternia, the Emperor of Eternia, he's a physicist. He's going to be doing stuff that's probably more advanced. They not trying to be funny. How many of us black people got something to offer? We got it, but a lot of us don't want to separate from America. We don't support each other. So if his country builds something or a school like he has the refinery, we need to learn that. Who's going to teach us? We going to pay something, or we going to go with our micronation partner and let them teach us and maybe exchange something for something? Exchange fruits and vegetables or currency for knowledge. We're playing chess. We're both. And so we both have future. And if you knew the future, what he's trying to build, both our future has nothing to do with America. So we ain't not on American values. We don't have anything like that. So I'm saying all this because I want to catch our people up. That's what it is. That's what they accuse Trump of. Quid pro quo, something for something. So understand, we're talking we're grown-ups here. We put on your big girl panties and your big boy pants. Suck it up and stop walking around angry. That's why I speak, but I'm free now. I don't have to get out here and march because I'm building something else. I'm letting America have its streets. Like he said, as much as we don't have to interact, the more we can free. And then when we get to where we're going with support, then that's when if we want to get in with the UN, then that's when we can say we doing this, and that. We want to declare Nevada our micronation. Yes, it's in America, but there's stipulations, and it's hard to say, hey, all our people agree this is our micro. We want to say Nevada belongs to us. We want Nevada to separate. That's what California and the South was doing, but they didn't do it the right way. So there's a lot of people wanting to separate. So we have to understand, how are we going to yell separate? I'm going to get in my thing. Separate. But how are we going to separate? How? Y'all gonna stand here and then get your guns and go against American guns, or you gonna get smart, start feeding yourself, start collecting your rainwater, start making your metals, and start doing? There's foreign affairs out here, micronations. The reason I brung it up is because I want y'all to know there are many micronations out here. You just don't know it. You don't know this part of foreign affairs. There is no Pacific law or standard really of what a state can be, but the law is that you have every right to govern yourself. So that's why I brought him here, and we're going to explain more, and we're going to be doing more, because in the future from now, I want my country to be prosperous and his. If y'all saying we're not going to have in our country because we want to govern ourselves, I keep telling y'all, and I asked the question, and my founders and people out there, just like in the chat, well, what are we going to do with white people? Excuse me, AP, what are we going to do with white people? We're going to be like the racist ones that we're talking about? Explain to me where your mind is at. This is why they accuse us of being angry and those that out there being scared. No, he has a micronation. There's lots of other micronations out there. What are we going to do with the people who are already mixed in their families? You know, are we going to be rulers and say, oh, this and that? What are we trying to create a beautiful nation? Because before the United States and all them came with they mess, people had wars and stuff, but it wasn't based on their skin color. People already were doing stuff. So exactly as a micronation and as a melanated micronation, what are y'all expecting? These organizations in America hasn't changed anything in 100 years. So this is the next level to govern ourselves, to separate, as y'all say. So when we talk, but how many of us are educated enough that we got all these popular high class black people, melanated people, and they still ain't separated us? I learned this from this. So I want us to stop being very, very ignorant of our hurt and understand where our future is going. We have to do solutions, or you're going to sit here and yell, no, I don't want this, I don't want that. And you go out there and you buy food from a grocery store that's owned by a white corporation? How does that work? Because you're doing affairs, you're doing a foreign affair yourself. You just don't see it behind scenes. When you go give that dollar, you don't know where they got those products from. When you go do that dollar foreign affair there, I did a video where you go in the store. We got black dolls in the store, but if you look behind, China made it. America didn't make it. But you will still go to that store. So we have to expand our mind. What do we want in our future? We can't let, I always tell y'all, go back to the beginning. We can't let what's happened to us keep us there and angry. Because after we get everything we want, if we're not oppressed no more, if we're not under the oppression, if we're not being stopped going to school, shot in the streets and all that, after we achieve that, then what's next? What's next? What do y'all want? We are so caught up in what's happening to us, we don't really see the future. What I want is to see beautiful countries like in the beginning. I want to see our people in a safe spot. That's the only reason for the micronation. And then we can do what other nations do. Do business among each other. Build, teach our children. I have our children the same opportunity that everybody else has. So I want y'all to think about that. And we're going to do more of these shows. So I thank you, AP. We've been on here for a while, but I appreciate you. And I want you to go ahead and tell them how to follow you. And we'll go from there. Go ahead and tell them. And then, like I said, you're going to see it in the chat, but go ahead.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. So we are the Empire of AETERNIA. If you type us into Google, just like it is down below, you should be able to find a few links pretty easily. One of the first ones is going to be our YouTube channel. It's the Empire of AETERNIA, spelled the same way. As well, our website, which is aeternianempire.wixsite.com/Imperial Market. Long thing. If you type it into Google, you'll find that one as well. It's our main website. We also have Twitter, which we are the handle, I believe, at aeternianempire. So it's spelled just like Eternia down there, but with an N and an empire and all the no space or anything, all lowercase.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Instagram, we're Eternian Empires as well. We're also on TikTok, and let me see if I can actually, without getting out of here, let me see if I can bring up.
I think you turned yourself around.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you do is just when we end this, just go on there and just push your information that's not in the description. Just put it in the chat.
Yes, absolutely. So the TikTok as well is Empire of Eternia, all together, all lowercase. But I can put that in as well. We're trying to grow on TikTok. We're trying to get bigger there. We've been doing stuff on YouTube for a while, so definitely check us out. We're trying to grow.
Okay, and I know, and because a lot of us, me and AP have a quid pro quo something going on behind scenes too, and it deals with a lot of knowledge. So I want y'all to look in the description, follow, because he's done the work for years. Like you heard him, he's been doing this for 5 years, and they still just getting there. And we kind of, like he said, when I learned, I ran up because ours is more imperative what we're trying to do. So he's been feeding me knowledge and helping. So like I said, we got to look at allies and those that's coming in different organizations trying to trick us. It's nothing that he can do for against our micronation, unless he just tell all the micronations go to war with them. But none of us even got money, So we're going to educate each other. And then the next time you probably see me when we have our next meeting, what I want you to organize, because you have been doing a lot with other micronations and stuff and getting us in there, is next time we'll be on your channel.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
We'll be on your channel and we go from there, and we'll just go from there. So I appreciate you coming on here, educating us, and we're going to get some more talk in the future. Probably I want to try to talk about micronations at least once a week. And as we grow, we'll be open up to more of our policies. So that's why I said I want people to understand, as foreign affairs, we're doing stuff together, and as individual micronations, we're doing separate stuff. that has nothing to do with each other. So y'all have a beautiful, blessed day. And we thank you. Shout out to the Empire of Eternia and the Empire, which is us, of ALKEBULAN. Peace.